Welcome back, everybody. A few weeks ago, we took an order for an Adirondack chair, and it was a repeat customer, somebody I work with. And we delivered that chair, and she told some other people that I do woodworking. And somebody else approached me for these, for a stand for these hanging hammock chairs. So today, I'm going to show you how I built these hammock chair stands for about $75 in materials. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around and I'll show you how I do it. Starting off, we're going to cut the 2x4 legs at a 15-degree angle. The original measurement was 74 inches, but it was a little short, so I would raise it to about 70 inches if you were going to build one of these. The 4x4 beam for the top gets cut down with a straight cut at 51 inches. The rear support is a straight cut at 47 inches, and the side supports are cut with opposing 15-degree angles, with the long edge measuring 39 1/8 inch. Finally, the beam supports are opposing 15-degree angles, with the long edge measuring 10 1/8 inches. Alright, so I wanted to take a quick second to kind of tell you what I've got going on with this mess over here. On these legs on this, there is a 15-degree angle at both ends. But because of the way I'm mounting this to the beam will actually slide in between the two legs. If I would have went with a 45-degree angle here, the legs would have been spanning out way too far for the type of project this is. This is only going to be 6 foot high, but that would make the legs like 10 or 12 feet wide, and it's just for a little swinging chair, so that's too much. This jig, I guess it's not really a jig, this contraption I have here is just a sawhorse with enough boards on it to get it to the right height, so this is flat. And then up against the fence, I have a board here that's got a 15-degree cut on it, and a board here that's got a 15-degree cut on it, so that it will get the angle that I need. The way this works out is if you've got your 15-degree angle cut at the bottom of your, or at the top of your leg, when you put this in here, your 15-degree angle will be flat on the fence, and that creates the board out at 15 degrees, and the angle we need here will actually be a 90-degree cut at the saw now, instead of trying to do something crazy. I want to say this with a grain of salt here. This is not for everybody. I don't recommend doing this if you are not very comfortable with what you're doing. I take no responsibility in anything you try. This is not recommended. Again, this is not recommended. Not recommended. But this is how I'm going to do it. So let's see how that works out. There we go. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm as surprised as you are that actually worked. What do you think? Do you think it's obtuse to think you're cute? Time to start putting this beast together. Now I know you can't see it right now, but I do have a board clamp to my table saw fence that's as wide, or just about as wide, as my table saw stand / assembly table, and that's so I can put the bottoms of the legs against that to make sure that I keep the bottom flat. Looking over the video footage here, I probably could have simplified this and just got the measurement of where that bracket needs to be, and as long as I measured correctly and cut everything correctly, I should be able to place that beam support at exactly the location it needs to be attach it on one side and then just put the other one again in place, line it up, and everything should line up. But I didn't trust my measurements or my cutting, so I just put the bottoms of the legs against that board on the fence, used one of those 4x4 posts to put between the two legs to get my spacing right, and then I adjusted my my beam support up. Now the beam support, there will be one on each side of each leg, so there'll be two on each set of legs, for a total of 4 on the whole project, and that just sturdies everything up and kind of pretties it up a little bit. I did also choose to glue and screw everything together, and then the legs themselves will bolt into the beam itself. And by bolt, I mean lag screw. I decided to go with a lag screw in this case. Once that side's done, we can flip it over and put the other beam support on the other side. Okay, now we've got the main leg assemblies made, and I'm just trying to line up these bottom side support braces. And it looks like the right sizing for this is going to be around 13 inches. So I cut these pieces off the scraps from the legs. They both have an identical 15-degree angle on them. Each side of this is 13 inches. So if I've got a nice flat surface to reference against, if I've got 2 of these, I can put these on the legs and push my side support down to that, and it will line up everything perfectly. All right, so we got all 4 leg assemblies done, and I've laid a couple down. I was sizing out the back support beam that kind of determines the space between the legs, and it's a little large for my liking. So I think we're gonna have to look at this from a different angle. That's better. I'm going to shorten this up. I gave this whole assembly some padding. The top of the swinging chairs that we're using are about 39 inches, and I gave them about 5 or 6 inches of padding in case people went a little bit off center when they were rocking back and forth. Now these aren't meant to be kids swings where they're going crazy on them. It's just for relaxing, right? So I don't anticipate they're going to be taking their legs off the ground and really seeing how much height they can get. So the padding between the sides is not super important. I just wanted to give it extra space at the beginning so that the top bar of the chair didn't interfere with the top of the frame here. So I'm going to shorten that spacing up about 4 inches, which still leaves a couple inches of padding on that piece, and makes it a little bit, it just looks better that way. So let's get going on that back piece. Now we're going to glue, clamp, and screw these all together. You'll notice I only put 1 screw in the first side here. That's because the board shifted a little bit, but it held in place enough so that I could stand it up and get the other one in place, and then I can readjust it when I got the other side done. This is actually the point in time where it started to look like yard furniture and less like the wood your mom got last night. Okay, now that we've got the rear support on so that the legs can kind of stand on their own, we can start working on the top beam. Now we're gonna have to repeat the shortening process on the top beam because it also needs to be shortened up by 4 inches. But once we get that done, we're going to put a chamfer on the top edge of the beam and maybe even the edges. I haven't decided on that yet, just to dress it up a little bit.
To decide on my chamfer size, I measured in 3/4 from each edge and drew a line. And then I just put a stop block in place so I could just continually rotate the beam around and get that chamfer on every corner without having to reset up or remeasure every time. And I set my table saw fence, put my blade at 45 degrees here, and made a cut that I definitely regret.
Alright, so I messed up. I thought I gave it a lot. I lined it up on the wrong mark. So I cut way too much off and now it looks ridiculous. So I'm going to go ahead and build the second one and do it in the opposite, because I already got the chop saw set up in the manner it needs to be to get the right size cut over there. But I'm going to have to go buy another beam.
You are an idiot!
Now you didn't see this part, but I actually messed up the beam again. When I attached it, I measured on one side from the beam support and on the other side from the leg attached to the beam. So when I was centering it, I was not measuring from the same spot on both sides. I don't know what I was thinking. So I ended up having to unbolt this, cut it down a little bit so that it would be even on both sides, and then rebolt it back down. But now we're just putting in some 45-degree 4x4 bracers, and this is going to sturdy it up quite a bit and make it so we can actually use it. Then all we had to do is take a chamfer bit in our router and put a nice chamfer on the top edge of those side and rear supports. And I chose to do this after I had it assembled. That way I didn't have to worry about matching the miters up, not the miters, the chamfers up, if I didn't get the boards perfectly aligned. So you can do it before, you just have to pay more attention to where you align things up. But after a vigorous sanding all over, that's all she wrote.
All right, there you have it, a hammock chair swing, rope chair swing frame thing. I don't know what to call this thing. That said, we obviously ran into some issues. I miscut things several times during this process, and I actually ended up having a conversation with my dad. We decided that the original design wasn't quite as sturdy as it should be. So we bulked some things up in some areas that we didn't originally plan to. But that said, I think it turned out pretty decent. Hopefully the customer likes it. And, all that said, I think if we can get a few more of these sold, we can get everybody that bought one together for a swinger party. Or, yeah, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So until next time, we'll catch you later. And we're going to deliver this hopefully tomorrow, so hopefully the customer likes it, and that's all about. All right, now that we got the two legs standing, and although a little wobbly at the moment, they are sturdy enough that we can work on the top beam now. I need to repeat the shortening process on the beam. What do I say now? All right, now we got the legs attached on the back rear. The back rear? The rear is the back. Okay.